Hello, Vikings fans. This is Report Vikings, your #1 channel for all the latest news about the team. The NFL is on fire, and the Vikings may be preparing a move that will leave everyone speechless. Two big names in the league are being linked to the team, and if that happens, Minnesota could be about to become one of the favorites for the Super Bowl. If you don't want to miss any updates on these explosive moves, like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell. Let's follow every detail of the Vikings offseason together. Minnesota Vikings remain aggressive in free agency and could surprise with Cooper Kupp. The Minnesota Vikings have been one of the most active teams in the NFL this transfer window, investing heavily to strengthen the roster and fight for a winning season. In just 24 hours of free agency, the team has spent an impressive $263 million on strategic signings. The moves include strengthening the offensive line with the arrivals of guard Will Fries and center Ryan Kelly, both formerly of the Indianapolis Colts. On the defensive side, the Vikings made a leap in quality by adding Pro Bowler Jonathan Allen from the Washington Commanders and by closing a deal with Javon Hargrave, who's shown with the San Francisco 49ers. In addition, the team secured the renewal of important pieces, such as cornerback Byron Murphy Jr. and running back Aaron Jones, in addition to bringing in speedy cornerback Isaiah Rodgers, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles. Even with these big moves, the Vikings may not be done with their surge in recruiting. And one big name could be on the way to Minnesota, Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp to the Vikings? Sources indicate that it is a real possibility. The future of wide receiver Cooper Kupp, MVP of Super Bowl 56, remains up in the air. The Los Angeles Rams have not yet found a destination for the star, but the Vikings appear to be a strong candidate to receive him. The reason? His close ties with head coach Kevin O'Connell and defensive coordinator Wes Phillips, both former members of the Rams coaching staff. Minnesota Star Tribune journalist Ben Goesling highlighted this possibility during an interview with KFAN-FM 100.3 radio on March 11th. I think it's very possible. There are big fans of Cooper Kupp on that coaching staff. Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips really admire him, not only as a receiver, but also for his tactical intelligence and ability to impact the game in many ways. Goesling also recalled a moment that demonstrates Kupp's influence on the NFL offense. According to him, a route concept used by Justin Jefferson against cornerback Stephon Gilmore in a game against the Colts in 2022 was inspired by a play that Kupp and quarterback Matthew Stafford created during their time with the Rams. That was a play that Kupp and Stafford basically designed during a practice during COVID. O'Connell and Phillips brought that idea to Minnesota, and it has survived and evolved. It shows the impact that Kupp can have not only on the field, but also on the development of the offense as a whole. The Vikings' need for a reliable receiver. The Vikings' interest in Kupp makes sense within the team's current context. Despite having one of the NFL's biggest stars in Justin Jefferson and the young and talented Jordan Addison, the team has yet to find consistency in its third wide receiver. Jalen Naylor has been inconsistent, and the problem is compounded by the potential suspension of Addison, who was arrested for DUI last summer. Adding a reliable and experienced receiver like Kupp could be the missing piece to solidify the team's wide receiver core. Even at 31, and coming off a couple of injury-plagued seasons, Kupp has an impressive track record. In 2022, he led the league in receptions, yards, and touchdowns, leading the Rams to a Super Bowl title and being crowned the MVP of the big game. While this campaign was an outlier in his career, he's only topped 1,000 receiving yards twice in 7 seasons. His experience and tactical nous could make him a valuable addition. Plus, given his age and recent injury issues, Kupp could be acquired at a relatively affordable price, making him a low-risk investment for the Vikings. O'Connell has hinted at his fondness for Kupp. The night before free agency opened, Kevin O'Connell attended the Minnesota Timberwolves San Antonio Spurs game at Target Center in Minneapolis. During a live broadcast by KFAN broadcaster Paul Allen, the coach was asked who his favorite Timberwolves player was. His answer may have given a clue to his view of the game and possible interest in Kupp. By naming Jaden McDaniels as his favorite athlete, O'Connell drew a direct comparison to Kupp, highlighting his versatility and do-it-all mentality. The mention reinforces the coach's admiration for the wide receiver and suggests that if the opportunity arises to sign him, the Vikings may not hesitate. Kupp's departure from the Rams seems inevitable. The Los Angeles Rams have made significant changes to their roster this offseason, including trades involving Davante Adams. With that, Kupp's departure seems increasingly likely. If the wide receiver is indeed available, the Vikings appear to be one of the most natural destinations for him, especially given the history with O'Connell and Phillips and the team's need to strengthen its offense. If the interest materializes, Minnesota could count on an elite offensive trio, formed by Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and Cooper Kupp, which would transform the Vikings' offense into one of the most explosive in the NFL. The next few days will be decisive, and Vikings fans will certainly be keeping an eye on the team's moves. Will Cooper Kupp land in Minnesota? Could Aaron Rodgers be eyeing the Packers' biggest rival? Rumors point to interest from the Vikings. The saga surrounding Aaron Rodgers' future remains unresolved. The veteran quarterback, who has yet to sign with any team in free agency, raises doubts about where he will go next. Although the New York Giants and the Pittsburgh Steelers are seen as the most logical suitors, there is an unexpected factor that may be delaying his decision: the Minnesota Vikings. According to Fox Sports journalist Ralph Vacchiano, the Vikings are still in the running for Rodgers, which could explain why he is still uncertain. Could the legendary QB be waiting for an offer from his former team's biggest rival, the Green Bay Packers? Rodgers may be waiting for the Vikings to make a move. The initial expectation was that Rodgers had already chosen his new team. A report published at the beginning of free agency indicated that he could secure a starting spot on any team he wanted. However, as the days went by, his choice is yet to be made official. This raises a few possibilities. Is Rodgers vying for contract value with the Steelers and Giants? Or is he waiting for another team to step in? Vacchiano believes the latter is the most likely option. Sources say the Vikings are still interested in the quarterback, and that uncertainty may be holding Rodgers back. The theory is further supported by the fact that if the Vikings weren't in the mix, Rodgers would have signed with the Steelers already instead of waiting so long. If this is true, the story could take on even more intriguing overtones. After all, Rodgers spent nearly 2 decades as the face of the Green Bay Packers, one of the Vikings' biggest rivals in the NFC North. A move to Minnesota would not only be a bold move, but also one of the most controversial moves in recent NFL history. Would the Vikings give Rodgers the starting job? While the Vikings could be an attractive destination for Rodgers, there is one significant obstacle. The team appears committed to developing J.J. McCarthy, the quarterback selected in the last draft. Rodgers, for his part, has always insisted on being the absolute starter wherever he plays. If Minnesota doesn't offer that guarantee, he could opt for the Steelers or Giants, where he would have more security in his role as QB1. Still, the competitive factor could weigh on his decision. Despite a middling season in 2024, Rodgers still wants to win. And of the teams interested, the Vikings have come the closest to the Super Bowl recently, finishing the 2023 season with a solid 14-3. If Rodgers' priority is to compete for a title immediately, Minnesota may be the most logical choice. Does Rodgers still have decision-making power at 41? Even at 41, and coming off a subpar season, Rodgers is still in a position of strength. The fact that 3 competitive teams are interested in him shows that his reputation as one of the best quarterbacks in history still weighs heavily on the market. On the other hand, if a deal doesn't come together soon, the hype surrounding Rodgers could start to cool. Teams need to settle on their starting quarterback sooner rather than later, and the longer he waits, the riskier the scenario becomes for him. If the Vikings' interest is real, and Rodgers is genuinely considering this option, we could see one of the most unexpected moves in the NFL. The legendary quarterback in purple and gold? That would have been something no one would have imagined years ago. But in the world of the NFL, nothing is impossible. The next few days will be decisive. Rodgers is about to write a new chapter in his career, and he may do it in the most unlikely place of all,